and then apply it to what we see. Same is true with immigration. This immigration drama that we have right now is only possible because we don't understand our own history. As a country, and particularly those of us of European descent, we have lied to ourselves about how we got here and for what reason. See, black folks know why they're here. Native peoples know why they're here and how they got here. A lot of Asian folk know, particularly if they're Chinese American, they know they got here because their ancestors were brought over to work on the railroads by the railroad barons who didn't care if thousands of them died laying track 19, 20 hours a day. But for those of us who are from Europe, we have this fiction that we've told, and we believe it, even though there's no truth to it. You know what the fiction is? It's two parts. Number one, we say things like, with regard to Mexicans coming over the border, with regard to immigrants coming over, but only that border. That's the only one we care about, right? The southern border. I find that interesting. We're not flipping out about Canada, right? We don't have any of the Minutemen or the anti-immigrant groups sitting off the coast of Nova Scotia with a gun and a scope trying to like pick off the sneaky Canadians that are trying to sneak in here for our superior healthcare system, which after all would be a pretty stupid thing to do. But in any event, we only care about that one border, forgetting for a minute that that border was created at the end of a war that was started on false pretense by this country, after which we jacked half of their country. And you weren't taught that in school either, because our history books aren't interested in telling the truth. They tell this very patriotic history that has no relationship to the fact. So that border is artificial. Mexican folk who are coming here, documented or not, let's be clear, are coming home. Their families were here before our families were here in almost every instance. But we forget that, and then we say things like, well, I don't mind them coming. I just want them to come legally like my people did. The hell does that even mean? Come legally? There was no law to break when our people came. The fact that we didn't break a law that didn't even exist, you don't get cookies for that. You don't get like a pat on the back and a gold star because your great whatever was law-abiding when there was no law that he could have violated, even if he wanted to. But we've told this lie that we came for these upstanding principles. So we'll say things like, well, you know, our people came for liberty and freedom, democracy. These people are just coming for stuff. They're just coming for jobs. They're just coming for health care. They're just coming for stuff. We came for high-minded principle, right? Because we believe that. What kind of third-grade version of American history is that? Right? Like when Donald Trump says, well, Mexico's not sending their best. What the hell, you think Europe sent their best? Europe, no, our people were the losers of Europe. I'm not trying to be an asshole, I'm just telling you the truth. Like, our people were the losers of Europe. The winners didn't get on the boat. You understand what I'm saying? The winners didn't leave. Why the hell would you leave if you were winning? Only the losers left because they had no choice. They were dying, they were starving, they couldn't support their families. A lot of them were convicts who were sold into indentured servitude to work for rich European people. They were barely above the level of a slave themselves. The idea that we had these we didn't believe in liberty and freedom. And we know that because once we got to the colonies, we set up the opposite of liberty and freedom. And I don't just mean that for like black folks and native folks. I mean even for other white folks. Like we spent most of the time in the early colonies trying to figure out who the witch was, right? It was like, well, you're not a Christian. Well, no, you're not a Christian. Well, no, you're not a Christian. I'm going to hang you from a tree. Really? Well, I'm going to drown you in the stream. Well, I'm going to set you on fire. Like, that wasn't liberty. The colonies were some of the least free places in the history of the cosmos. But we act like we came for liberty, and they're just here to take advantage. Let's be clear. Our people didn't come for liberty. They came for stuff. They came for stuff like land. They came for stuff like opportunity. They came for stuff like the ability to feed their families, and there's no shame in that. None at all. But just like there's no shame in our families having done that, there's no shame in brown families doing that and coming over that border from Mexico, Central America, or wherever else they might be coming. There's no shame in any event, but we've told a lie. It's like we have this image in our head that sometime in like 1650, this was a common scene in England. All the nice white noblemen got together, and one of them gathered his children around the fireplace in the middle of the 1600s and said, well, now, children, I think you'll agree with me that we're doing quite brilliant here, and we have this big mansion, and we have all this gold, and you remember last week when the king invited us to the palace, and you played out in the garden with his children. I know, it was brilliant, right? It was great, it was great, it was great. I bet it was lots of fun, but Daddy thinks that we need to stop all that nonsense and maybe strike out on an adventure. So here's my plan. Even though we're doing so well, even though we pretty much run the show here in England, I think that what we should do this summer, follow me, stick with me, I know it's going to be a stretch, but I promise it's going to be great, is we should get on a big boat. A rickety old ship. I don't even know if it's seaworthy, children. It might sink. We might be eaten by sharks. We might get hijacked by pirates. We might get scurvy and die a horrible death. However, I think you will agree it will be an adventure, a great one indeed. That did not happen. Noblemen didn't leave. Those who were doing well did not leave. Only the losers got on the boat. People say things like, well, my family came over on the Mayflower. Okay, sweetheart, you might not want to talk about that. If you actually knew who was on those early ships, I'm not sure who was, but I know who wasn't. The king. The king was not on that ship. Nobody the king really wanted to keep around was on that ship, right? So our inability to see this, though, understand the importance historically. If we don't understand that we came for the same reasons that folks come today, be they documented or not, then we can't see them in us, and we can't see us in them. And that's why we have this drama, because we're spending all this time pretending that our motivations and our even human decency and ethics are different when they're not, you see. This is why history matters so much. We can't fix any of these problems, whether it's immigration issues, whether it's criminal justice issues, whether it's wealth disparity, all of that. We can't do anything about that if we're not willing to understand history. But let me close with this. And it's a point that I think needs to be made, because sometimes